Vi är i Post Falls, vintern 2017. En liten stad med runt 30 000 invånare i norra Idaho. Här jobbar de flesta i skogs- eller träindustrin och i princip alla tillhör någon av de över 20 olika kyrkorna på orten. Här har också det konservativa prästbrödraskapet FSSPX ett av sina starka fästen i USA. I kvarteret längs motorvägen Interstate 90 som delar samhället i två delar ligger deras kyrka, prästernas bostäder och dessutom pojkskolan Immaculate Conception Academy. After all this, what is your relationship to the church today?
I am still a Catholic. I'm not blaming God for this, so I'm not going to take it against the church. I still need the church for my sacraments, so I'm still going to go and do what's right by God. But I'm not going to seek counsel from them, and I'm not going to force my boys to either, and I'm not going to let them go to the boys' school because I don't trust it.
Det är med sorg i rösten hon anklagar prästerna för vad som hänt hennes två pojkar. Hon litar inte längre på den kyrka hon levt med och sett upp till i hela sitt liv. Och menar att det hennes söner utsattes för kunde förhindrats. På samma sätt som Angela hade också Kevin Sloniker och hans familj starka band till SSPX församling i Post Falls. Han växte upp långt ute på landsbygden men började redan i tonåren arbeta för kyrkan med barn och ungdomar. Under flera år bland annat med deras sommarläger. Kevin var omtyckt av präster och församlingsmedlemmar och blev som 20-åring antagen till SSPX prästseminarium i Minnesota.
He went there for a time to try and become a priest, and that for some reason or another, some personal reasons, it didn't work for him, and he decided he didn't want to do that.
Did he speak about his time at the seminary?
Only to use it as a tool to convince me that he was a good person.
Okay.
To gain my trust, so that I would be willing to allow him to take my children out of my sight and out of my protection. So that I felt comfortable leaving him with them. To gain my trust, he used it as a tool of knowledge.
Do you think that Kevin Sloniker used his role in the church to be able to get to these boys?
Yes.
Not only your boys?
Oh yes, he told them, he used it as a fear mechanism that I know what I'm doing because I've been to the seminary. You can trust me. That's how he convinced them not to tell me, as far as what my boys were telling me.
And church volunteer, but police say he is also a child rapist with a trail of victims dating back years. 30-year-old Kevin Sloniker was arrested in Wisconsin in September, brought back to Idaho to face several charges, including child rape. KXY4's John Hendricks working for you for our North Idaho newsroom tonight. And John, Sloniker has admitted to some of these charges?
He did, Nadine. In court documents, investigators write that on October 9th, Sloniker admitted to fondling 9 boys and raping one of them over a 10-year period. Now, some of his victims coming from a church camp in Post Falls, where he was a counselor. Little emotion moved across 30-year-old Kevin Sloniker's face as he entered a courtroom in Kootenai County this afternoon. He's charged with abusing young boys in both Idaho and Washington over the last decade. Court documents reveal one of the victims claimed there were 60 separate incidents spanning over a 6-year period.
När vi ställer frågor till SSPX ledning om fallet Sloniker slår de i sina svar fast 3 saker. 1. Att han lämnade församlingen för länge sedan. 2. Att han till slut självmant gick till polisen och erkände sina brott. Och 3. att deras präster aldrig fick kännedom om något brottsligt innan erkännandet. Men vi lyckas få tillgång till hela den omfattande polisutredningen och ser att inget av det ledningen för FSSPX påstår stämmer. Angela bor med sin familj någon mil utanför Post Falls. När vi träffar henne är det första gången hon berättar för någon utomstående om kyrkan och vad som hände hennes 2 söner som då var 11 och 13 år gamla. Mardrömmen började för 2 år sedan. Hon hade under en tid anat att något inte stod rätt till. Men pojkarna sa inget och hon förstod inte vad det var som pågick. Men så plötsligt en dag börjar de berätta.
My heart dropped to my toes. I started to cry. And I looked at my son and I said, "What you have done is incredibly brave. It took an incredible amount of strength. I knew it, but I needed you to say something. And now I can fix it." And we just sat there crying.
And what did you do after that?
I called the police immediately.
What did you tell them?
That they were hurting my children and that they needed to be stopped and to go get them.
Och det hennes pojkar berättar ska bli början på en fruktansvärd historia som skakat om det lilla samhället Post Falls. Så småningom uppdagas att minst 7 barn under nästan 10 års tid utsatts för grova sexuella övergrepp av Sloniker.
It was tragic for the victims. It was tragic for the families of the victims. It was tragic for Kevin's family, and it was tragic for Kevin. I think it was unfortunate all the way around. It's a horrible thing.
Michael Palmer är Slonikers försvarsadvokat och berättar att efter några månader i häkte erkände han sina brott. Så uppgiften blev att försöka få domaren att förstå hans bakgrund och ta hänsyn till den i domen.
He wasn't the youngest, but close to the youngest of around a dozen children, and I don't recall exactly how many at this point. They were living in a very rural area, so he was very isolated. He was homeschooled, so he didn't have access to socialization with other children which one normally would get to play with and see on a more frequent basis. So his entire life as a child growing up was just that with his siblings. Even when he attended church on Sundays, they would attend the church service and then come home. His father was gone most of the time, not because he'd abandoned the family, but because he worked very long hours. They were very low income. His mother had health problems, and so, which I think developed early on in his childhood, so wasn't able to be his primary caregiver. So it really kind of fell to some of his older siblings, brothers and sisters, to take care of him when he was a small child. And there was evidence that there was sexual abuse that occurred from some of the older children, or at the very least we could call it sexual experimentation, but I think we could easily call it abuse.
But what he did was still monstrous.
Yes. The end result of it was definitely monstrous.
År 2003 började Sloniker arbeta med barn och ungdomar i FSSPX församling i Post Falls. Han arbetade med kyrkans sommarläger och höll i utbildning för blivande korgossar. Och 2 år senare antogs han till deras prästseminarium i Minnesota. I polisutredningen hittar vi en märklig uppgift. 2005, under sin tid på skolan, försöker han vid ett tillfälle att omskära sig själv. Han läggs in på sjukhus och efter det bedöms han av skolledningen vara mentalt instabil. Man beslutar att Kevin Sloniker måste avbryta sin utbildning och han återvänder hem. Men i Post Falls får ingen reda på vad som hänt på prästseminariet, utan han återupptar sitt arbete med barn och ungdomar i församlingen, som om ingenting hänt. Och det är nu övergreppen börjar. Så här beskriver domaren Cynthia Meyer under rättegången de brott barnen utsattes för.
Count 1 involved conduct with a 14-year-old over a period of several months in 2014. Count 2 alleged conduct with an 11-year-old over several months during 2015. Count 3 alleged conduct with, said 14-year-old, but the conduct was alleged over a period of, it looks like about 3.5 years from 2012 to 2015. Count 4 involved a 9-year-old with a single allegation of conduct. Count 5 involved an 8-year-old with conduct occurring during 2005. Count 6 involved a 10 to 12-year-old with conduct occurring from 2007 to 2010. And count 7 involved a youngster who was 11 and 13 years old, one person, but the conduct was alleged to have occurred in 2006 and or 2010. The conduct was manual to genital touching. It included oral to genital contact. It included genital to anal contact. And the defendant pled guilty to each count.
Och när Kevin Sloniker själv får ordet i rättssalen innan domen faller säger han att han ber för sina offer.
Your Honor, I'm sorry for every one of my offenses. It is involved. I put myself here, I understand that now. And I do pray daily for my victims and for their families. They recover, get better. And I do hope for their full recovery. I take full responsibility for my actions. I am not proud of a single one of them. I'm ashamed of myself. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Han dömdes till livstidsfängelse med möjlighet att friges efter tidigast 35 år. Och han avtjänar sitt straff här bland 2000 andra fångar på Idaho State Correctional Center, 60 mil hemifrån. Två av dem som utsattes var Angelas söner. Kevin Sloniker tog med dem i sin bil till det här huset i utkanten av stan och förgrep sig på dem. Till sin mamma har pojkarna berättat att det ska ha skett vid 9 olika tillfällen. Angela menar att kyrkan tidigt fick varningstecken på att allt inte stod rätt till.
I mean, I'm not smart. I don't consider myself particularly strong. Why is it that I was the only one that could see that? When obviously the church saw it before I did. How come no one stopped it? No one stopped it. It was there. They knew. People knew.
But are you sure that the priests actually knew?
Oh, yes. Before my boys said something to me, I asked the priest, what should I do? The advice I was given was to do nothing because I had no concrete, substantial evidence to go on. I can't just sit there and say this is happening if I don't have any fact to back it up. Their excuse was they couldn't do it because they had no facts to back it up. What kind of a fact did you need, was my question. What facts did you need? Did you need Kevin to come forward in broad daylight and say, look, everybody, I'm violating these boys. So what? What are you gonna do?
När vi går igenom polisutredningen ser vi hur offer och församlingsmedlemmar berättar att de pratat med prästerna om sina misstankar kring Kevin Sloniker. En mamma vittnar om att hon höll sina barn borta från honom eftersom hon var övertygad om att han utsatte barn för övergrepp. Och det hade hon och hennes pappa berättat för 2 av prästerna. Och ryktena började gå i församlingen.
Many rumors.
Rumors among the parishioners.
Family members in the church.
It was talked about in the church.
Yes. It was not. It was a very open thing that people knew that there was something there that was not right. And it was in more than just one brother. And it was in the boys. And it involved boys. Other boys. The rumor was very clear.
Was it about sexual abuse?
Yes.
Ett annat viktigt vittnesmål i polisutredningen är från ett av Kevin Slonikers offer 2006. Det är året efter att han bedömts vara mentalt instabil och tvingats lämna prästseminariet. Det är då, när han återupptagit sitt arbete med barn och unga i Post Falls, som han utnyttjar en 12-årig pojke i ett hus långt ute på landsbygden. Pojken berättar detaljerat för polisen om de grova sexuella övergreppen, där Kevin Sloniker till och med ska ha använt en piska. Man berättar också för polisen att en av FSSPX präster fick reda på vad som hänt. Att han, citat, varit naken och utsatts för fysiskt våld av Kevin. När vi ställer frågor till FSSPX ledning ger de en helt annan bild av vad som hänt. Kevin Sloniker skulle bara haft vad man kallar, citat, gränslösa lekar. Som till exempel kuddkrig, och där de sprungit omkring och lekt i bara underkläderna. Allvarligare än så var det inte enligt kyrkan. Men den sammantagna bilden av polisutredningen är otvetydig. Prästerna fick en mängd varningssignaler om allvarliga händelser, men agerade inte.
I expected that church, my church, to protect me. That's what I was taught that the church was there for.
Why do you think the priests did nothing?
They were too scared, or they were trying to protect the church, or I don't know. I am trying to answer that question too, and I don't know why no one stopped it before me. I don't know. I wish that they had. And I think that they failed me and my children. In particular, our priests failed me and my sons.
En som otaliga gånger sett hur kyrkan i första hand skyddar sig själv och prästerna är Mary Dispenza i Seattle. Hon är aktiv i SNAP, USAs största organisation för att stödja och hjälpa offer inom katolska kyrkan. Som 7-åring blev hon själv utnyttjad av sin präst.
I went into the 2nd grade and I was 7 years old, and very much at that young age in love with God and Mary and Jesus and my guardian angel and all those different things. And then one lunchtime in the 2nd grade, and I'm 7, I went looking for my mom because she would stay around and help in the rectory till the end of the school day. And I wandered into the school auditorium. And it was dark, and I could hear a machine going, and a light coming from it, and a big picture. And it was a movie, but I don't know then if I knew what it was. But the sound of the projector, excuse me, kept drawing me. So as I got closer and closer to it, there was the parish priest, and he motioned me to sit on his lap. And I did, because he was father, and why would I not? And I was just fascinated also with the projector, excuse me, the wheels going round and round, and I'm on his lap and I'm seeing this projector, and it's like, wow, this is something. And then he put his hands under my uniform skirt and under my panties, and he put his fingers in me. And, you know, I think, and have been asked, well, how long? And for me, it seemed like 15 minutes, and I'm aware of everything just blanked out. The movie, everything just stopped. And the name of my book is Split, because I believe at that time, I really did. I just left part of me here, part of me here. And then he walked me to the back of the auditorium, left me, and he just left. And I do remember there were these 2 little bathrooms there. And I went in and washed my hands and washed my hands and washed my hands. And I think in my own small way, I thought I was getting clean. Even at 7, I knew something very bad and wrong had happened.
Själv fick hon efter många decennier rätt mot kyrkan, trots att man länge försökte mörklägga vad som hänt. Och enda sättet att komma till rätta med problemen i kyrkan, menar hon, är att bryta tystnaden och slutenheten.
If they had an open, accountable organization, they would expose and expose and expose and expose their brother priests until they were rid of them. But they do the opposite. They cover up, they cover up, they cover up, they cover up. And there are probably a lot of reasons. I only can hazard my own, offer my own ideas. I think it's about preserving the good name of the FSSPX, of the Catholic Church, putting that over and above harm, crimes, and all the rest committed by their brother priests and the leaders of the organizations in the Catholic Church, all the bishops.
And what does this do to the victims and the families of the victims?
Well, it breaks their hearts, very simply, and it destroys lives. I'm 76, and since age 7, I've worked with impact of sexual abuse in my life. Even now, I struggle with issues in intimacy. I get close, pull back, close, pull back. So we, victims, survivors, never recover totally. The survivors suffer greatly when the church that they loved, in some cases still do, in many cases they don't anymore, hurt them and then deny that. And in that denial, it really implies they're lying. They're making this up. It's not true.
I fallet Kevin Sloniker hävdar SSPX också att han redan 2006, efter det de menar bara var ett kuddkrig, inte längre fick arbeta med barn och ungdomar och lämnade församlingen. De sista åren innan han arresterades arbetade han som lastbilschaufför och var bortrest långa perioder från Post Falls. Men i polisutredningen hittar vi uppgifter att han så sent som 2013 träffat ett offer via kyrkans pojkskola. Och domaren slår i rätten fast att Kevin Sloniker använt kyrkan för att kontakta sina offer.
Most of the boys were from church. So Mr. Sloniker, you took advantage of kids in an environment that should have been safe and free from those who would manipulate and hurt them. The abuse took place over a period of 9 to 10 years, and as indicated, the victims' ages ranged from 8 or 9 years old up to 16 or 17 years old. But Mr. Sloniker, in truth, these boys will be affected for the rest of their lives. They will suffer humiliation, fear, guilt, self-loathing, and conflict. This is something that will truly affect them forever.
Så FSSPX påstående att Kevin Sloniker lämnade församlingen i Post Falls redan 2006 stämmer inte. Och deras påstående att prästerna aldrig fick kännedom om något brottsligt stämmer heller inte det med polisens utredning. Den sista punkten i de svar vi får från kyrkans ledning, att han till slut självmant gick till polisen och erkände sina brott, är inte heller det sant. Michael Palmer berättar att Kevin Sloniker efterlystes och greps efter det att Angela gått till polisen.
He was arrested after an investigation began. I believe it was the Post Falls Police Department had a allegation made by the mother of a boy who, again, there was enough here that I don't recall. I'm going to say he was probably in his 11 to 13 age range, I think, who had spent the night at the home Kevin was residing in.
I polisens rapport står det beskrivet hur Kevin Sloniker är efterlyst och grips i sin lastbil sent på natten den 14 september 2015 i den lilla orten Menominee i Wisconsin, 230 mil hemifrån. Så FSSPX påstående att han självmant gick till polisen och erkände stämmer inte heller det.
From that, ultimately they arrested him. And then I think their investigation grew as they interviewed more people and more information came to light.
So he did not turn himself in. He was arrested by the police.
Correct.
Och Michael Palmer påminner om att präster och kyrkan måste gå till polisen om man får kännedom om misstänkta övergrepp mot barn.
If there was a disclosure made and there was a credible or at least reasonable view of that it could be true, then there would have been an obligation to report that to the proper authorities. Under Idaho law, there is a mandatory duty to report to the appropriate authorities, whether it be Child Protection Services or law enforcement, allegations of child abuse. And that applies to anyone.
Men från FSSPX slutna värld hörde ingen av sig till polisen och övergreppen pågick i nästan 10 år. För prästerna såg inget, hörde inget och visste inget. It says here, prior to Mr. Sloniker's confession to the police, the priests in Post Falls were never informed of any...
That is an incorrect statement. That is an incorrect statement.
How are you so sure?
My dad went and spoke to them. He cannot speak for himself, but I do know that it happened. Those conversations happened. My sister spoke to them. So the problem was known, obviously.
So this statement is not correct?
It's too obvious for it to be correct. It's too obvious. That is an absolute incorrect statement.
We who grew up in the Catholic Church were told, go to Father. Go to Father. Father will solve everything. So instead of going immediately to the civil criminals system or the police, we do what we learned. We go to Father. And that's a part of the reason the secrecy continues, because they go to Father, and Father either minimizes the situation or says, I'll take care of it. And as a good Catholic, you leave believing, I did the right thing. I told Father he's going to take care of it. Well, he doesn't. And the abuser goes on. And this is what happened in Sloniker's case. People did come forward. They did their best. No one listened to them. And as a result, Sloniker was able to molest more children.
After all this, what kind of help have you got from the church?
None.
Nothing?
None.
Have they talked to you or to your boys?
No. So it's kind of a difficult position to be in as a Catholic and as a mother raising Catholics.